When we just think of negativity and low energy as this grimy dirt, and when we're going to come in contact with it, it's going to rub off on us, right? Positive things do, but negative things do as well. And the negative things hold more weight. They're heavier. They pull us down. And once you're down in that negativity, like you're rolling around in the mud, it's a lot harder to wash yourself off and to get back to a positive place.
You're watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.
Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about a concept that I learned about in a psychopharmacology class that I'm taking. Now, this class is all about how drugs, medications, and substances impact our brain. So what happens on a neurological level with different neurotransmitters and chemicals in the brain when we take in different substances, like your doctor gives you a pill, what's happening? And then how does that impact how we feel, how we think about things, and then how we behave? So it's a super fascinating subject that I'm really enjoying learning all the ins and outs of it. And there's a concept of the placebo effect. Now, this is something that a lot of people are familiar with, but essentially what the placebo effect is if your doctor gives you a pill and this authority figure of a doctor tells you this is going to cure your depression, and you take it, and sure enough, a few weeks go by and you're like, yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Like, this is really working. And then you come to find out that that was a sugar pill. Essentially, that was a substance that was not impacting your brain chemistry at all. But what changed and what made your symptoms better was this positive expectation or this belief that you're doing something to fix the problem. And so then the problem becomes fixed. And it was coming from this authority figure of a doctor. So you have this belief in what they're telling you. And there's this power of positive expectation to fix things. And this is a great concept to even just look at, in other areas of life. When we approach something with the expectation that it's going to go the way we want it to go, it's more likely to go that way. Well, there's another effect that I just learned about that really made me think about our lives. And this is called the Nocebo Effect. So it is essentially the opposite of the placebo effect. So with the Nocebo Effect, just the suggestion of negative side effects creates them. And so this really speaks to the power of negative expectations. And so this happens with drugs. If a doctor gives you a pill, and let's say this is a pill that actually has a function, it's not a placebo, and they say, by the way, you might get headaches, you might get blurry vision, you might gain weight, it might impact your sleep. And this is also coming to you from this authority figure that you have this faith and this trust in. Its studies have shown that now you are much more likely to experience these negative side effects. So this makes me think of our brains almost like a plot of land, like a plot of tilled soil, like a garden. Before you plant anything, it's just beautiful soil. It's ready to accept and take in seeds and to grow things. And so what we're learning here from the placebo effect is really, if you take in the seed of positive expectation, you're very likely to grow in your life the outcome of this positive event or this positive outcome. So in the case of the sugar pill, your negative symptoms go away because you believe you're doing what needs to be done to make them go away. This is such a powerful concept. But then realizing that if somebody suggests negativity to you, you are also going to be very likely to experience this negativity in your life. And so what can we take away from this? This really caused me to look at the influences in my life, both positive influences. So, for example, if you're watching this show, my intention every week is to be a positive source of content and to just put your mind on a plane of self-development and positive forward momentum, right? I'm here to be a positive influence, which maybe in some cases it's a placebo, right? If you're taking what I'm teaching you and what I'm telling you and you believe it's going to help you and then you do it, and sure enough, it helps you. It works. It's positive. But then looking really intently at our life for the areas and the influences that do the opposite. Where do we have negative suggestions coming into our mind that have a negative impact? And I feel like it takes some real searching to look. But when you really do the work and you really scan your life for negative influences, it's typically in the form of a friend or a family member who is chronically negative. And so I wrote down a few things for you for really looking for these subtle negative impacts, influences in your life, because we have this knowledge now of the nocebo. So we know that if there's a friend that we see once a week who puts all these negative ideas in our head, these negative things have a way of now growing in our life. Maybe you have a friend who loves to complain about her marriage and talk about all of the frustrations that she has with her husband. And then sure enough, as you're going about your life, you realize that some of these conflicts start coming up in your own marriage. And it's because we're allowing this negative influence in, and then we're allowing that negativity to grow. Okay, so there's this quote from a Stoic philosopher, Epictetus, and I think it applies perfectly. He says, "If you consort with someone covered in dirt, you can hardly avoid getting a little grimy yourself." It really makes sense. And so when we just think of negativity and low energy as this grimy dirt, and when we're going to come in contact with it, it's going to rub off on us, right? Positive things do, but negative things do as well. And the negative things hold more weight. They're heavier. They pull us down. And once you're down in that negativity, like you're rolling around in the mud, it's a lot harder to wash yourself off and to get back to a positive place. And this is why, I talk about mental and emotional hygiene. Well, our mental and emotional hygiene, it requires that we be careful about what comes in. What do you allow in? And so finding negative influences in your life, identifying them, and then really creating great boundaries or just eliminating them. Because really at the end of the day, it's not worth it to constantly put yourself in a situation where you're getting all grimy. And then you have to do the work and the effort to go and wash yourself off, right? To get all that negativity off you and to raise your energy level and to raise your aura back to a place where you're happy and positive. That's a lot of extra work. Okay, so what do we look for to decide or to determine if somebody is really grimy and is a negative influence, and our alarm bell goes off that the nocebo effect might be happening in my life. We might be drawing a connection here. So complaining, right? We all have somebody in our life who we know as soon as you see them, like, hey, what's up? How's your day? Complain, 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 right? This mentality of being a victim, or that everything is happening to them. And you know what? I say we're looking for this influence of others in our life, but we do also have to look in ourselves as well. Because if we start to be the source of some of this negativity, it has the same effect, right? And then now we're, giving that negativity to others. So avoiding people who chronically complain, or maybe before you avoid them, start to push back gently on those complaints, right? Let's see if we can raise them out of this negativity. But complaints and being a victim, that is a red flag. That is a red flag that we are getting into some serious negativity. Having this zero-sum mentality. So having the mentality that if I win, you lose, and we can't create a win-win, right? It's adversarial. It's us versus them. This zero-sum mentality is really coming from a place of negativity. So if you wanted to raise that, it would be, how do we create a win-win? Or how do we create a scenario where everybody is getting some kind of benefit and it's not like an us against them? People who are constantly in a crisis. It's just one crisis after another. And like there's just like this swirling negative energy. And maybe it seems like they're never the source. But when you get to a point where there's just crisis after crisis, you have to wonder who is setting all these fires, right? So that is a sign to you that, okay, this person is probably a source of negativity in my life. Gossiping, when we engage in gossip and we're speaking negatively about others, this is negativity. This is going to have that impact on us. And even though you're talking about somebody else, the negativity will crop up in your life, in your self-image. We talk about this mental blueprint that we have of ourselves. Well, the way that we treat others is a reflection of how we think of ourselves. So when we're treating others negatively, our self-image is shrinking and it's getting smaller and lesser, right? So we treat others well, and then we think of ourselves better. This is the biggest one, and this is the one that I really lean into. And that's, how do you feel after you've spent some time with somebody? Did that person drain your energy? Did that person leave you feeling lower than when you first saw them, right? And I think it's very energy-based, but when you are tuned in to if somebody's draining, almost like draining my radiance, or if they're turning it up, right? They're positively impacting it. And this is the biggest sign for you if this person or this situation is a negative impact in your life or a positive one. So this Nocebo effect is the act of really opening yourself up to negativity and then allowing its harmful influence in. And so this is something we want to avoid. We're going to keep on the lookout for it. It is avoidable, right? And we do have this responsibility to guard our minds from negative influences. All right, I have extra credit for you today. Scan your life for sources of negativity. Scan your life, figure out where the negative influences are, and then reduce your exposure to them as much as you can. And then in addition, really build some mental armor. Because if we don't give credibility to the negativity, it's not going to take root in our minds, right? It has to have that piece of we're giving it some authority. So build that mental armor, guard your life and help grow the positive stuff, right? That's what we want. We want to continue to move in the right direction and grow what's positive and happy. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you got something out of this episode. And if you like it, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Friends, I will be back next week with another episode.
Thanks for watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.